What's at the movies this week? Well, we've got at least two much anticipated films, and boy, one stinker. Just got to call it one stinker. We'll talk about those and more. And I believe the return of the Schlocketeer this week on the screening room.
Are either one of these any good?
Wow, this is a good movie.
It's pretty good.
Well, the director from yesterday doesn't think so.
It stinks.
He's sorry. You waste our film.
It's so bad!
Welcome into the Screening Room podcast. She is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And we're from MaddWolf.com. Got a few this week on the big screen and for streaming, I think, too, right? And the first one seems like we've been talking about. In fact, we had to remind ourselves. Have we talked about this yet already? Because we've been talking about it in one way or another for a few weeks now, but it's finally here on the big screen.
First up in theaters, a group of teenage boys compete in an annual contest known as the Long Walk, where they must maintain a certain walking speed or get shot. It's the Long Walk.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to host a pre-screening of this a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And
actually made a podcast out of the reactions, spoiler-free. We did have a lot of spoilers in the conversation, but I took them out, edited them out. And that's on our Fright Club podcast, available on the usual spots if you want to get an idea of what a lot of people who have read the book thought about the movie, because we had not read the book, although we did read up on it to see about some of the changes, especially the ending. But overall, I think, first off, this is one that we were told he wrote one of his Bachman books,
right?
Yes. And one that for a long time people thought you just couldn't film it.
Yeah, and that makes sense, actually, because the entire film takes place on the road as you're walking with these people. So it's the book, I think, was specifically the Vietnam era, but the novel is just sort of a dystopian. It's not entirely clear what the time frame is,
right.
But young men throughout the United States sign up for this long walk, and they hope to be chosen because the one person who wins gets untold riches and one wish. And even though, if 50, I guess, young men are chosen, only one is going to survive this, because you walk until everybody else is dead, either because they've walked themselves to death or because they've been shot for breaking a rule. So it is grim, but also cinematically, you never leave the road, which is really hard because it means you have to rely on dialogue to do everything. All the exposition, all the character building, all the world building basically has to come from dialogue. And that's tough. And Francis Lawrence directed this, he directed a whole bunch of the Hunger Games movies. And one of the things I really liked about what he did was to expand the idea. So it's not just a metaphor for war, but a metaphor for the capitalistic spectacle, very much like a Hunger Games movie. I think that was my favorite thing about this.
Yeah, because the war metaphor is right out there front and center. I mean, as they're walking along the road, they might as well be carrying some firearms and walking through a field during battle. So you definitely get that it was a Vietnam War sort of allegory. That's pretty clear. But yeah, as they hit the other themes, and you get the major, the real big villain here, played by Mark Hamill, really digging in.
Yeah, he's great.
He's having a good year with Stephen King adaptations. That's because even though we didn't like the film, thought he was very good in The Life of Chuck. So he's having a good year there. But yeah, he really digs in as the major who keeps telling these boys the importance of this and the fact that, they're not lazy, and you're preaching that message. Anybody who doesn't get what they want in life is just lazy. Yeah. You're not working hard enough. Right. And boy, we've heard that a few times. So that hits home as well. And you're right. Most of it is done along the road. There are a couple of quick flashbacks, mainly involving Judy Greer, the great Judy Greer, as one of the main characters' mother. And she's just great. I mean, those scenes with Cooper Hoffman, who is one of the two main characters, Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson, we may remember from
Alien Romulus. He was so good.
So good. Totally different type of part here.
So different. It took us a minute to realize that's who it was.
But they are both really good. They are the front and center, the two that become fast friends and that we get to know the most as the walk goes along. And I think maybe that was the thing that hit me as clunky from the beginning was the dialogue, some of the dialogue, and I understand why. But in the early going, when these guys are all together for the first time, it seemed to me the bonding, the friendships were a little quick. And some of the dialogue seemed a little unnatural. I totally get why that has to be. And thinking about this, like you talked about some of the inherent challenges of filming this, I think it was done probably as good as it could be.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things you had to just go with, that we have to get up and get running and try to establish these characters, who they are, not just the two main ones, but then the side characters that we get to know. Some we think are bad, some not. So I get that. You had to really, really kick it off without going, it's not going to go 3 hours long. So a little clunky for me at the beginning, but it certainly picks up for a couple of reasons as it goes along. As they do get to know each other more, the dialogue becomes more natural. The performances are very good. And the deaths, when they come, are brutal.
Yeah, they really are. And J.T. Mullner, who wrote and directed Strange Darling a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
He adapted the screenplay, and he does, I think, as you said, about as good a job as he possibly can with this. And it is true that, it starts off with almost like an optimistic sort of, which is sleight of hand, because it's the grimmest story ever. But they do manage to find some, I don't know, amiability in it. And I think that that's really helpful because you are heartbroken at some of these deaths, and you're horrified by some of these deaths. And I think that there is especially a couple of really great character performances in this that carve out more of a character than maybe was on the page.
Yeah, I agree. And then, as we mentioned, the little bit of a sidebar with Ray, Cooper Hoffman's mother, Judy Greer, really does help, even though it's not that much screen time. Number one, she's always so good, and it gives you a much needed. You can't take much away from The Walk, because after all, that's the movie. But just a little bit here and there, some flashbacks to when Ray was thinking about joining, and of course the mother had her misgivings, and then along the way, people come out to watch along the side of the road. So you do get a little bit of that, and it is much needed and much appreciated, especially when you have somebody as good as Judy
Greer. Yeah.
And also it leads to an ending. Again, we didn't read the book, but in talking to people that did read the book and in reading summaries, they make a couple of subtle changes to the ending. I think personally, I probably would have preferred the one that I read about. But the people that we talked to in our screening that did read the book seem to be mostly fine with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that because it's a fitting ending. It is. It works as an ending to the story. And also I think there are a number of changes that they make. Obviously, you have to. It's just, even though it's a novella, it's one of his shorter works. You can't put everything in a book on the screen. And there was one person who didn't stop to talk to us who hated it. But everybody else who talked to us, including the people who loved this book, we talked to several people, this was their favorite King novel. They all really liked the movie.
Yeah. So that's a good sign, I think, if you did read the book and like it. But there are a couple, I don't want to say major, but they definitely tweak the ending a little bit. So we'll see how you feel about that. I probably, like I said, would have preferred maybe the original ending, but I don't know. Maybe having not read it, you can't just read a summary. It's not going to mean as much to you as you're reading the book and you're along for the ride with it. But overall, I think this is going to be a movie like this, a source material like this. It's hard to think of a better adaptation. I think they did it just about as well as they could. And I think also, and I've said this before, I said it at the podcast, I'm horrible at picking what's going to be a hit.
You made me spit.
You all right there? Spit take. But I just have a feeling this is going to do okay. I do. I have a feeling it's going to get a decent opening and then some good word of mouth too. So we'll see. I don't know. I've been wrong most of the time before about hits and misses. But we would both recommend The Long Walk, and that is in theaters now.
Also in theaters, the legendary band reunites after a 15-year break for one final concert. Spinal Tap II, The End Continues.
We were looking forward to this with reservations because, like so many of you, we absolutely love Spinal Tap, the
Yeah,
original.
it's a near perfect.
I
movie.
mean, it's so funny and so quotable, and it has only gained popular culture status over the
Yeah,
years, which
yeah.
is probably what led to having done this movie. And you have to think back to the time, way back in the midst of time, 1984, when the original Spinal Tap came out. It was like nothing people had ever seen.
No, and that that's a big difference because Christopher Guest went on to probably perfect the idea of the mockumentary, which is of course what Spinal Tap was. But I think it might have been the first one.
If it
not,
wasn't,
it was among the first.
and it made it really more of a pop culture thing as people realized what he was doing, because there's the famous stories about rock stars like Aerosmith thinking that it was real and thinking
that it was them, that they was making fun of them.
because it was so spot on and so funny. And even though Guest didn't direct that one, Rob Reiner did, and he's back to direct this one. Christopher Guest and his troupe of usual actors went on to do great mockumentaries of A Mighty Wind and Bested Show for your consideration. Fantastic.
So great.
But since then, even he has talked about how nowadays it's become so prevalent, I think mainly in TV. With shows like Parks and Rec and The Office and things like that.
But even just the advent of reality TV.
Yeah.
It's just, it's not interesting.
It's made it sort of
anymore.
Superfluous, and it's certainly taken away the freshness.
Mm-hmm.
So all that to tell you that this one obviously is not as good as the first one. It's not as funny. As we get back into Spinal Tap II, the end continues. And it's Rob Reiner is back as the director of the actual film, and his pseudonym in this, Marty DeBurgi is back to direct a new documentary to get back with Spinal Tap. And in this one, they have been estranged for 15 years, off doing other things before they are. And I will say, I'm not going to spoil it, but it turns out that the catalyst for their reunion here is Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood.
It is a pretty funny bit.
Which actually, that was for 30 seconds was a pretty funny bit.
Yeah, it was.
And there are hits here. There definitely are. And the fact that they're getting together to do a reunion concert, it turns out that they are contractually owed one more concert. Because if you remember Ian, the manager, Ian Faith, the actor unfortunately has passed away. So the character has passed away. Well, his daughter, Hope Faith, she has inherited the contract, and lo and behold, it calls for one more performance. So they have to get together. And of course, Marty DeBurgi is going to film it and talk to the people involved. And so first of all, it's logical that you'd have a reunion show, and it's organics. It's an organic way to reintroduce all the songs that you love from the first one. Big Bottom and Cups and Cakes and Bitch School and Tonight We're Gonna Rock You Tonight.
The Flower People.
Listen. On and on. So the fact that you hear those makes sense because they're rehearsing, right? And then you want to get caught up with some of the side characters that you remember from the last one, like Bobby Fleckman and Artie Fufkin.
Polymer Records.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
I gotta catch up with Artie Fufkin. I would have liked a little more with them, especially when you consider that the running time with credits is only 83 minutes. That's one of the things about this movie. It seems thin, even though the running time is so short. We could have
slight.
It's pretty slight. A little more of Artie, a little more of Bobby, and some of the others. But
maybe we could have found out what happened to his special friend Belinda.
Yeah, that's right. But the main thing that this movie does is remind you how much you love the first one. Basically,
you haven't even talked about the new people.
The new people. That's the other twist on this one is, if you remember in the first one, to anyone outside of their hardcore fans, Spinal Tap was pretty much a joke. But here, their status has grown so much that Paul McCartney and Elton John, playing themselves, drop in to pay their respects and maybe work with them, and maybe McCartney offers some advice that may or may not be taken. But actually, Elton John has a bigger part, and he's pretty funny.
He is funny.
What they do with him.
He is, as like this fanboy who can't just believe that he gets to be in the same room as Spinal Tap. He's precious.
Yeah. So there are definitely things that work here, but yeah, it does seem slight. They also use bits of actually scenes from the original film.
Yeah.
Again, to give you the feeling that, wow, maybe they just didn't have quite enough of that material and just wanted to to go for it anyway. Which I get.
Yeah.
I mean, and for old time's sake, for people like us that love the first one so much, it's fine. It's fun. It's nostalgic fun, and we'll give you some smiles. And of course, you hear some of those great songs again. I think if you don't know anything about Spinal Tap and don't care, no, you want to see the first one, especially because the first one is a stone cold classic.
Yes.
Again, one of the most quotable, and you can't believe how well it still holds up, just lampooning rock stars.
Right. But as you said, there's ample opportunity to lampoon aging rock stars, and they really don't.
Not as much.
They don't take advantage of that.
No, if the inspired lampooning that you got from the younger rock stars is not here.
No.
But it has a couple of shots. It's funny enough. Nowhere near the classic. But then we knew it wouldn't be. Come on, that would be a freaking miracle. I don't see how you top Spinal Tap. You just can't.
No.
Now, I will say this is one that may grow in stature after you live with a little bit, like Spinal Tap, because some of the humor is so deadpan. You have to remember, oh yeah, that thing that remark they laid down, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah.
Michael McKean's eyebrows are incredibly impressive. They are impressive.
They are. Yeah. So so the Tap reunion, Tap 2, just enough to recommend for hardcore Spinal Tap fans. But other than that, just go back and watch the first one. Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, is out now.
Next up, a newly sober man's Christmas Eve dental emergency leads to an unexpected romance with his older dentist as they explore Baltimore together in The Baltimorons.
It's a good title, first of all.
It is. I was just going to say that.
Good title. And second of all, anytime you say, because I know you said in your review that this was about the best romantic comedy you'd seen since The Big Sick.
Yeah.
And that is high praise. The Big Sick is great. And of course, you don't like rom-coms very well.
No.
But this one is it feels so fresh and a different angle, and it's funny. And I liked it too. I did.
Yeah. It's so smart and endearing. And there's an honesty about it. Like, I could see somebody pitching the script and somebody deciding to ruin it by casting Julia Roberts as the dentist and Austin Butler as the aspiring comic, But the fact that they're such regular, normal people, and it's set in Baltimore, and it's really kind of a love letter to Baltimore, honestly. It's so fun.
Although you only hear the accent maybe once.
Yeah, they make fun of the accent.
We were wondering, where's that classic Baltimore accent? But
because that can't help but make you giggle.
It does.
It's Jay Duplass co-writes and directs, and Michael Strassner is the star, and he is also the co-writer, and you just want to hug him. He's just as earnest and funny and sweet and likable as anybody could possibly be, and he's kind of a bit of a schlub, and he goes with his fiance to her mother's house for Christmas Eve, falls on the porch, knocks out his tooth. Now on Christmas Eve, then he's got to travel around Baltimore searching desperately for a dentist who will fix his tooth, and he finds it in Dr. Dee Dee, who is played brilliantly by Liz Larson. And they're so funny together because she is not impressed by anything in all the world.
Especially him.
Show no nonsense. And he just wears her down because he's so profoundly likable and goofy and funny. And then, so she comes and she takes care of this tooth for him. And then he goes to drive away on Christmas Eve and realizes that his car's been towed because he parked right in front of the dentist and he didn't notice the thing because his face was bleeding and he was desperate. And it's just one of those things where there's just happenstance, just one thing after another. Those movies, generally speaking, feel so contrived and tiresome that not this. You're like, because you just, I thought to myself, oh, I would definitely walk out of an emergency and realize that I just parked in front of a towaway zone. And everything happens on Christmas Eve. So obviously there's just other things that are closed and that you can't rely on. And they just keep sticking together throughout this day until eventually they're doing it on purpose. And eventually they're sort of ignoring the rest of their families to keep doing it on purpose. And it's just such a charming delight. It's so funny. And the lead performances are just amazing. Yeah,
they really are great. And it's also, it works on another level because Michael's character, Cliff, happy to be here, as he introduces himself many times. He's learning how to not be an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And navigate the world that way. And that is another layer underneath all this and why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
that's a part of it too.
Yeah.
And it's just incredibly endearing.
Yeah.
You love these characters. You're rooting for them from the start to spend more time together.
Yeah.
Because we like it when they spend time
Right,
together.
because we're having fun. But I love that you brought that up, because the two main things about Cliff is that he's 6 months sober today, and that just before he got sober, he was an aspiring improv performer. And those two elements of he's still learning who he is without alcohol, and his entire approach to life is yes, and. That's what the whole movie is built on. And I think that's why it's so fresh, because it feels very believable. Yeah, I was so happily surprised by this movie.
Yes, really liked it. Big recommendations for that. Even if you don't like rom-coms, and for the most part, we don't.
No.
Like this one, The Baltimorons, and it's out in theaters now.
Next up, Charles Blakey, an African-American man living in Sag Harbor, is stuck in a rut, out of luck and about to lose his ancestral home when a peculiar white businessman with a European accent offers to rent his basement for the summer. It's The Man in My Basement.
What are you going to do if Willem Dafoe shows up? I want to rent your basement.
That's right. A peculiar white businessman.
What are you going to do?
You know, when you're like looking at that, trying to cast a movie, do you think Dafoe will do it? He's a peculiar white man, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, this is not for laughs. We talked about this last week when that could go, because I didn't know anything really about
easily
the movie.
a horror movie.
Yeah,
that could easily be a horror movie. Yeah. Just the title.
But no, this is based, the source novel from Walter Mosley.
Yeah.
Has to deal with so much about history and ancestry and heritage and philosophy. And there's a lot on its mind here. And it's driven by two really strong performances, Willem Dafoe as the man in the basement, and then Corey Hawkins as the man who owns the house, living in, Sag Harbor, which the sign tells you was built as an African-American community. And Corey Hawkins has inherited his house. It's his ancestral home. And at this point in time, he's just drifting through life. He's unemployed. He's drinking. He's gambling. He just doesn't care. He just has no anchor, no reason, and he doesn't know how he's going to keep the bank from taking his house. And so then, what luck when Willem Dafoe shows up with an offer of all this cash in advance, cash to rent the basement for the summer. And so Corey Hawkins' character accepts this offer, and there are strings, that it's going to get weird down there, and it does. And I don't want to give away exactly how it gets weird for people that haven't read the book, but there becomes it's a battle of wills, but it's a compare and contrast, because what Willem Dafoe sets up down there for himself and for Corey Hawkins is they're talking, they're exchanging ideas, you're finding out how different they are and how similar they may be in some regards. Is Willem Dafoe, is he a prisoner there? Is he a warden? Is he a teacher? Is he a student? And how does Corey Hawkins' character change with Willem Dafoe's help? And especially he starts a friendship, maybe a nice flirtation with a local curator who tells him that the artifacts that he has in his house from his family are incredible. You've got these masks, these tribal masks, and all these other things, and they're museum worthy. Well, at first, Corey's character only sees them for what they might be worth and what they might sell, and that's obviously turns off the curator, and he changes as this goes on, and so does Willem Dafoe's character in a big way. I think it has a lot of good things to say and a lot of good themes and good performances. I think it gets in trouble. The director, the co-writer who adapts with Walter Mosley himself, and director is Nadia Latif. And I think it gets into a little trouble with tone. If you watch the trailer, you will think it's much more of a thriller than it is. And the quote unquote thrilling sequences, almost a lot of them, are dreams. Hallucinations, and you start to think, wow, are these just thrown in there just to give the trailer something to make it look like more of a thriller than it was? Because I didn't need those. That's not what this movie is about. And some of the symbolism is pretty obvious and pretty heavy, and these thriller elements land with a lot more of a thud than the final. I love the final shot. The final shot is a defiant look at what the film is challenging you to think about. Really appreciate that. So there is a lot to like here. It really is. The performances, the themes, some of the dialogue. I think some of the symbolism gets carried away a little bit, but I still would recommend it. And this is day and date. This is on Hulu and in some select theaters. I think we have it here in our area.
We do, yeah.
And maybe in your area, but especially if you have Hulu and appreciate, a thinking drama with good performances. Yeah, check it out. And it's called The Man in My Basement. And it's on Hulu and in some theaters now.
Right. We're going to take a turn.
Let's do a horror movie next. Mikey's night terrors become reality when his mother begins showing signs of demonic possession. What he's about to experience will haunt him for the rest of his life and claim countless lives across generations. It's Traumatika.
What?
Might haunt me for the rest of my life.
Honestly, the synopsis of this movie, what movie are they talking about? Not the one we saw.
Man, full disclosure, we were going to talk also about the Downton Abbey, the final Downton Abbey movie, but I'd never seen any of them. She doesn't like them at all. We're not the audience for that. If you love the Downton Abbey, you're going to go see it, and that's awesome. God bless you.
To be honest, it sounds like we're being lazy. It is not. Nobody wants to know my thoughts on the Downton Abbey movies. It would just be unfair. It'd be like, I'm just ranting. Who gives a shit what Hope Madden thinks about the Downton Abbey movies? Nobody who might.
So enjoy it. If that's your,
so
enjoy it.
It would not benefit anybody.
So we both went to see this instead. Man, I don't know how, I thought this was going to be really heavy duty stuff. And about 10 minutes in, I thought, oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy, it's not good. It just made The Home with Pete Davidson seem better than I thought it was as far as on the list of horror movies I've seen this year. Yeah, the performances are weak. The production values are weak. It seems like, this is what we said as soon as we got out of the theater. This seems like they took a bunch of scripts from well-known horror movies, fed them into Chat GPT, and said, just give me something that takes bits. So you've got a beginning sequence that is right out of The Exorcist, with you going on a desert, and there's an artifact that's found. Then you have some Friday the 13th Part 2 going on. You've got some Skinamarink. You've got some Poltergeist. It's all over the place, and it's
bad.
Boring.
It's bad. It's bad. And it's funny because there's on-screen text at the beginning about like the definitions of childhood trauma, and it sets you up for maybe, oh, this is going to be metaphorical about, childhood trauma. It's not. It's just an excuse to be very grim and very violent toward children. There's a lot of rape happening in this movie for not any particularly good reason. And it's just, it doesn't carry it off for any purpose. It's just wallowing. And the very end of the film clarifies that. No, this is just, it's poorly structured. It's horribly written. It's not well directed or produced. And the thing is, I like all horror movies. I like bad horror movies. I like them. It's like my comfort food. And I would take a pin to the eye before I watch this movie again.
I somehow along the way, I don't know what I saw. I was excited about it. I thought, oh, this is going to be something. It's not. It's not good.
Yeah,
it's not good. I just couldn't believe. And I hate to say that because we know obviously how hard it is to make movies.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe it got theatrical green light. Could not believe it.
No.
Could not believe it. So yeah. No.
Skip it.
Not recommending that. And that's Traumatika in theaters now.
Next up, when teen magician Max crosses paths with the sinister Jester on Halloween night, she must outsmart a supernatural killer whose magic is all too real and whose tricks always end up in blood. It's the Jester 2.
Okay, here's another horror movie to cleanse our palate from the last one.
And I'll tell you what, it really benefits from our having watched Traumatika. No, I remember I saw the original Jester, which was, I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, and it's a fairly well put together, very low budget indie horror movie about basically about sort of the generational effect of depression, suicidal tendencies, alcoholism, things like that. And it's not great, but I didn't hate it. It was fine, especially for what it was. And then this film really drops the metaphor completely. It's that there's no metaphor at work here, and in some ways, I think ups the ante in a way that's a little bit interesting because the Jester, who, let's be honest, is Terrifier light. right? It's a character who doesn't speak, who's dressed up like a jester. The face is all painted like a clown. It's Halloween night, and if you like draw a card for a card trick, then they're going to kill you in a horrible, horrible way. Not nearly as horrible as the Terrifier. So a little bit more palatable for people who aren't hardcore horror fans, but still, it's
maybe instead of Art the Clown, this is Arthur.
yeah, but in this case, he comes across a friendless teen named Max, and she's wearing the costume that she made herself as a magician. And so instead of playing along,
gotta let Kitty in there. Sorry.
Instead of playing along, she takes the card deck away from him and she goes, "No, you try one." And then, okay, well, that's upended the entire mythology that he apparently has to follow because she tricked him. So that's an interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
She has inadvertently, in her innocence and excitement for magic, she has thwarted his plans. And there are a lot of interesting things about that. There are a lot of things about it that really are not, because I think one of the reasons that the first one worked in any way is because we didn't get a lot of back. We don't know why he's doing the things he's doing, the same way we don't know why Art the Clown is doing what he's doing. And so in this one, then they establish a backstory, establish a reason, and well, whatever. It's not that interesting. The kills are whatever. They're fine. They're not going to keep you up at night. They're not very exquisitely shot. They're not interesting. It's just got a very slasher quality about it. It's got a low budget slasher quality about it. It's got a sequel to a low budget slasher quality about it. It doesn't look terrible. The performances aren't bad. There's nothing unique or interesting about it. It's just, it's passively mediocre. It's fine.
And that's in theaters too, right? Yeah.
Yes, it is actually a Fandango event. So it'll be in theaters this Monday and Tuesday exclusively.
Ooh.
And then after that, probably to streamers.
I assume so. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So it's just a Fandango event.
That's right.
So we'll check that out if you want. And on the Jester 2.
That's right.
And with that, there he is.
There he is.
Joining us again. Welcome back in, the Schlocketeer.
Hey.
There he is.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good.
So we missed you, I think, last week. So double the fun. What you got cooking?
Well, as far as double goes, Megan 2.0 is finally available to stream on Peacock beginning September 26th. And just like the first one, Peacock's going to debut both a theatrical and an unrated cut on that day.
Interesting.
A little more Megan carnage for everyone. And you get that carnage now, but this carnage is delayed because Warner Brothers has pushed back the release of Mortal Kombat 2 by 7 months to May 15th.
Whoa!
Bummer for Mortal Kombat fans, but it shows a vote of confidence in the film itself since they're given it a big summer slot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because that's a big push.
Yeah.
So they must have some serious confidence. Yeah, you're right.
And then I've got a bunch of Shudder dates for you.
Nice.
Of course, we're hitting into spooky season.
Oh, yeah.
House on Eden will arrive on Shudder on September 26th. The Olga Kurylenko thriller Other will hit Shudder on October 17th. Hell House LLC Lineage hits Shudder on October 30th. And Abraham's Boys, A Dracula Story will premiere on Shudder on November 7th. So to give you a little more dose of Halloween right after Halloween, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Shifting to Prestige for a tiny moment, Black Bear Pictures will release David Michaud's Sydney Sweeney star Christie in theaters on November 7th. And then right back into horror, we've got Roadside Attractions putting out Brian Fuller's horror thriller Dust Bunny in theaters on December 5th. And that stars Mads Mikkelsen and Sigourney Weaver. So,
boom. Done.
Very excited.
Very, very excited. And then Neon has picked up Park Chan-wook's No Other Choice. It will get a limited theatrical release on Christmas Day and a wider release sometime in January.
Yay.
Yeah. Good stuff just keeps on coming.
Yeah.
It does. Very exciting news.
And I got a couple more for you. First up, Netflix has set a January 16th premiere for Joe Carnahan's new crime thriller, The Rip, which stars Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Tiana Taylor, Steve Yeun, Kyle Chandler, and Scott Adkins.
Okay.
Star-studded one there.
It is, yeah.
And from star-studded to steamy, we've got Warner Brothers setting a February 13th theatrical release for Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen
yeah,
the trailer for that one, but
I
looking
did.
for a Valentine's Day date.
I did not know that was her doing
Oh,
Wuthering
yeah.
Heights.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
the trailer for that is very bodice ripper, if you've seen it yet.
Which is funny because the book is very not. Like,
No, but hey, you got to shake it up somehow.
That's right. You do. That's so funny. Before we let you go, though, speaking of spooky season, the three of us are very excited. We're going to get to see Daniel in person in a few weeks because Nightmares Film Festival is coming to town to here, Columbus, Ohio, where we live. And I think that the festival is about to announce its lineup.
Yeah, and it's a good one. We're all three lucky enough to be on the jury panel, so we get a close look at a lot of these, and we're all excited.
We absolutely are. I mean, the lineup's strong every year, but I think it's especially strong this year. So people are going to be really happy with what's coming down.
Well, I know from our end because we handle the thriller features, and the two that got in. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to get distribution. I mean, they are excellent.
Oh yeah,
excellent.
There's so many cool premieres, and and I say this every year. People ask what to go to when you come, because there's usually one of the theaters has a feature, and the other one will have the same time shorts block. I always say to go to the shorts block because the features there are so good. They are going to get distributed at some point. You're going to get to see them at some point, but shorts are harder to find. And Jason Tostovan, who is the programmer of the festival, the shorts that he puts together, the shorts program he puts together, rival every film festival on earth. They're so good.
Yeah. But then if you do go to the features, there's a good chance you'll see something way early, and then it'll break. And then, I saw that. So you can't really go wrong.
No, you can't. We have a ton of premieres too, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So if you're in the area at all, it's October 16th through the 19th, I believe.
That's right.
Those are the dates.
We'll be there. Daniel will be there. Daniel's son is coming this time.
Oh, call the law. No, it's going to be fun. So please, if you're in the area, make it. Nightmares Film Festival. All right. Is that it for you this week?
That's it for me.
All right. Take care, and we will talk to you next week. The Schlocketeer, you can always find Daniel Baldwin on the socials at the Schlocketeer. Thank you much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Looking ahead to next week. Oh, we've got one. Yeah, we've been looking forward to. Well, for a couple of reasons. Him comes out next week, and that is from producer Jordan Peele. But also, we're going to get a chance to spend some time with one of the co-stars, Naomi Grossman.
Yes.
And we're going to have that as one of a podcast on our other podcast, Fright Club, which is horror movie only. So we're going to be talking to her, I think, later next week.
Yep.
So looking forward to that.
Yep. Also, The Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey.
Yeah, that's Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie.
That's right.
Been seeing trailers for that. Also with Waltzing with Brando. And if you've seen any of the photos, the
Billy Zane
looks like Brando.
Yeah,
it looks like Brando.
He really
So we'll
does.
talk about that one next week.
Yeah, looking forward to this one. History of Sound.
Oh yeah. Also one called Swiped.
London Calling.
Night of the Reaper. I'm going to guess
today.
that's a horror movie. I'm just going to guess.
I'm going to watch that today, right as soon as we get done with this podcast. Megadoc, that's you, because that is about the Megalopolis. It's a documentary about making Megalopolis.
Oh, which you didn't see.
I didn't bother to see.
Okay, yeah. So. Also another Bend.
Yep, and Just Breathe, which is good advice as well.
It is. All right, that's next week. But what about this week? What do you think? You got some Spinal Tap love or some Long Walk, or maybe you love Traumatika? Okay. All right, let's talk. We always love to keep the conversation going. You can find us on the socials, MaddWolf Columbus, of course, on YouTube, and also on Facebook and on Instagram and on what are the others? Blue Sky and Threads. And I'm probably missing one.
I think we are.
But they're all out
TikTok.
there. TikTok as well.
Mm-hmm.
Gee whiz. It's a thing, this social media. So
I think it's going to take off.
Have a great week. We'll talk soon. Until then, she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Screening Room Podcast.
See ya.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.